I remember the phone call that changed everything. A calm voice from the local police said my wife's car had been found abandoned near the riverbank. The doors were locked, her purse inside, and no sign of her. They were treating it as a probable drowning. The world around me blurred. 1 hour earlier, she had texted me, heading home soon. And now she was gone. In the days that followed, grief filled every corner of our house. Her family held a memorial even before divers stopped searching. Friends brought casseroles and whispered condolences. I tried to accept it, but something refused to settle. Her shoes were missing. Her passport, too. She'd been distant for months, talking about debts, about starting fresh. Still death? No. It didn't fit. 2 weeks later, an insurance adjuster called. My wife had increased her life insurance policy only 60 days before the accident. $500,000. She had even added double indemnity for accidental death. I hadn't known. When the company asked for the death certificate, I realized how little proof there really was. The divers never recovered a body. The certificate said, presumed drowned. I kept replaying that phrase. Presumed. One evening, I opened her laptop. She always said I shouldn't. Too much work stuff. The password was still her birthday. Inside her email drafts was a message never sent, addressed to someone named Dylan. Tickets booked. Use the new name, Anna Ward. I'll meet you at the motel after the transfer clears. My chest tightened. There was also an attachment, a scan of a temporary driver's license. Her face, new name, different hair color. I printed everything and sat in silence until morning. Either I was losing my mind, or the woman everyone was mourning was alive somewhere waiting for an insurance payout. I took the papers to the police. They logged the information, but said, until we have evidence she's alive, it's still a missing person case. The investigator's tone told me they'd seen desperate widowers before, so I decided to prove it myself. Her phone was still linked to our shared cloud account. I logged in. Most data was wiped, but one thing remained, her fitness app. A location ping from 3 states away, 2 days after the supposed accident, a small town near the border. I drove there that weekend, telling no one. The town was quiet, mostly highway motels and gas stations. I walked into a convenience store, heart racing, and showed the clerk her picture. He hesitated, then said, "Yeah, I seen her. Bought coffee here a couple mornings this week." My hands trembled around the steering wheel. I waited near the motel parking lot the clerk mentioned. Around dusk, a woman stepped out of room 12 wearing a wig and sunglasses. Even with the disguise, I knew that walk. I whispered her name. She froze. When she finally turned, her face drained of color. "Why?" I asked. My voice barely came out. She glanced around. "You shouldn't be here." We sat inside her room for what felt like hours. The truth spilled out in broken sentences. The debts were real. Medical bills, credit cards, collectors calling day and night. Then she met someone online who told her how easy it was to disappear. "No one checks too closely when there's a car by the river," she said. The plan was to let the insurance pay out, meet the accomplice later, and start over. Listening to her, I felt everything: rage, sorrow, pity, disbelief. She wasn't the villain from a movie. She was a frightened woman who'd chosen the ugliest escape imaginable. I told her she had to turn herself in. She begged me to keep quiet, said we could both start new lives. That's when I realized I didn't recognize her at all. I walked out, called the detective who'd dismissed me, and sent him the motel address. By morning, the parking lot was swarming with police. She was arrested without struggle. The man she'd conspired with fled but was caught later that week. The prosecutors charged them with insurance fraud, false death declaration, and conspiracy. The trial lasted months. Sitting in court, hearing my name repeated in testimony, was surreal. The insurance company's lawyer said my persistence saved them from paying $500,000. Reporters called it the Riverbank fraud. I hated every headline. I didn't want fame. I wanted my old life back. She pled guilty eventually. When the judge asked if I had anything to say, I told the court, "I'm not here for revenge. I just want people to understand what greed does to trust." She couldn't meet my eyes. Her final words to me were a whisper, "I'm sorry." After sentencing, I went home to the same quiet house that had once been filled with laughter. Every photo on the walls felt like an echo. I boxed up most of them, but kept one, our wedding picture, because it reminded me not of betrayal, but of the day before everything went wrong, when promises still meant something. Months passed. Reporters moved on. I started volunteering with a local consumer protection group, helping people spot financial scams. Sometimes I tell them part of my story, never names, never too much detail, just enough to make them think twice before trusting a quick payout. What I learned is simple. Insurance isn't evil, and neither is money. It's desperation, mixed with secrecy, that destroys people. My wife didn't die that night by the river, but something between us did, and no payout could ever bring it back. If you've watched this far, I'd like to know what you think. Could you forgive someone who faked their own death for money? Let me know in the comments. And if you believe stories like this can warn others, share this video so it reaches them too.